will go on to our non-timed items, which is the only one left is 7.5, consideration of review of planning services contract between the County of Lake and LACO. With that, we have the planning department present, and it looks like Deputy Director Turner and Andrew Amelong are here, along with Byron Turner.
Hello, thank you, Deputy Director Turner. Just introducing.
Do you want to sit up here?
Oh, thank you. That'd be
You all can as well. I don't, yeah.
Thank you. As Chair Crandall noted, we do have our Cannabis Program Manager present, as well as Byron Turner, a former county planner who now helps us through LACO with our cannabis contracts. I will turn this over to them for the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, let's see, is this mic on?
Yes.
All right, so to review LACO's performance to date, as of July 18th, on a weekly update that we received from LACO, our consultants have had 6 projects that have been approved at the Planning Commission. 37 project review status memos have been submitted. 10 projects have review underway. 5 projects are currently at the Planning Commission stage. 3 of those projects are tentatively scheduled for July 28th. Actually, they are scheduled with 1 pending continuance. And 2 of those projects are, well, actually, this has changed. 1 of those projects is now scheduled for the August 11th Planning Commission. The other one still needs to work out some issues. Moving on, 1 project has been appealed to the Board of Supervisors, and that is pending scheduling. And 4 projects have been continued to a later PC date.
All right. Supervisor Sabaki.
I forgot to ask for this clarification in my emails yesterday, but in the memo it says 5 projects and then it's all tabbed over, but it doesn't add up to 5.
Yes.
Is it 5 projects and those things below, or is the 5 involved in the things below?
The 3 projects on the first tab, 3 projects that were tentatively scheduled for July 28th, they are now scheduled. And the 2 projects that were tentatively scheduled for August 11th comprise those 5 projects.
Gotcha. Okay. And so there's 6, 37, so that's 43, 10, 53, plus the 10 below. So 63 total projects that they're involved in since the beginning.
Yes, and there's 70 over, so there's 7 more that have been sent to them that are awaiting their review to begin. And since then, we have had 10 more projects move into the CEQA review phase, which is the point at which we send them to LACO. So to clarify how the cannabis program is structured currently, we have 4 stages of review. The first stage, when we receive an application, we review it for completeness to make sure all the application items have been received. If they have not been received, we send out an incomplete letter, and we await to receive those documents, such as hydrology reports or background checks, etc. Once the projects are complete, then they move into what we call the agency and tribal notification review period, and that's when we send out our RFRs, or request for reviews, to local and state agencies, as well as our AB 52 notifications to our local tribes. Once we receive comments, that's generally a 30-day period with 2 weeks for the agencies and 30 days for AB 52, and we receive all of those comments. We take those comments into consideration, and this is at the staff level at CDD between myself, the program manager, our assistant planner, Mary Claybon, and our technician, Jamie Henry. Once we receive those comments and we review them to determine the appropriate CEQA review process, whether they qualify for mitigated negative declaration, or should it be categorically exempt in some cases, at that point, that's when we are sending the projects over to LACO to begin, basically the crux of the review period, stage 3, which is CEQA review. and drafting initial studies, reviewing submitted initial studies, and basically commenting on those and requesting more information, because quite often we don't quite have enough information to complete the initial studies. Once the initial studies have been completed and we have all of the attachments and we feel comfortable with the determination based on LACO's recommendations and our own internal review, that's when we move forward to publish those initial studies at the State Clearinghouse. That's a 30-day review process. We receive more comments from the state, from the general public, from organizations, and we take all of those comments in, and that's when it moves into the final stage of review, stage 4, which is preparation of the staff report and scheduling a planning commission hearing date.
All right.
Which also, that's where LACO, basically LACO is filling in to do the heavy lifting in stage 3 and stage 4, the CEQA review and initial studies, and the staff reports and presenting the projects at planning commission.
All right. Byron, did you have anything to add? Or?
Sure. I just wanted to say that, we are here to serve the needs of CDD, as mentioned by the speaker on the last item. It took some time to get to this. I think we have a smooth process now. It took some time to get to this. The cannabis program was kind of floating a little free there for a while, and now we're there able to offer our assistance, and as well as assisting in tracking as well. I know this is an issue, to be available to the public for their questions as well, if the county wishes us to be that point of contact. LACO has recently opened up an office downtown as well, so we are available to serve our client, the county, and here to help.
All right, thank you. Supervisor Sabatier?
So in the emails that I had back and forth yesterday, I know on our memo it says since January 1st, 2022. I had known that we've been with LACO much earlier than that. And in my email response, I asked, are the numbers being provided from our original relationship or since January? And the response I got was since the beginning. And so I do have to say I'm happy with some of the changes, and I'm hoping that those changes give me the results I'm looking for, but 6 projects approved since August 9th of 2021 is a little disappointing when we've spent about $240,000 so far, and granted there's other work being done. So I would like to see another review coming up sooner than later, not waiting another full year, but I want to make sure that the new changes are resulting in what we're looking for, because almost exactly a year's worth of work and funding to have 6 projects only being approved, and whether they're disapproved or approved, to me that's up to the planning commission and up to us if it's appealed, but to have only 6 projects go through only the CEQA process and the final process, which I think the final process is kind of a new thing that we're doing. I don't think I've ever seen LACO come before the Planning Commission until recently. But I'm disappointed in the 6 projects being approved for that kind of time period, when that is the only thing that we're asking LACO to do for us, is to go through these projects. So I see that there's potential change, and I'd like to be not pessimistic about the future, and so I hope that these changes will make the numbers look better, and so I'm hoping that we can come back, I don't know, maybe 6 months from now towards the end of the year and kind of review again where we are, because I want to see that number be a whole lot different than 6, because personally, that's not good enough for me.
Sure, I understand. And from my understanding, I wasn't involved in LACO's initial period as a consultant, but I think it was limited to 8-week period in which we sent them approximately 19 projects, just about 20, and they started work on those projects. And then that temporary contract, which I believe was for $25,000, kind of ran its course, and it was put on hold until later that year in December, when they could approve the actual contract. So that's when we really got started with LACO, was in January. Also at the time, Kim Hunter, the former director of Trinity County, who's now a principal planner in Butte County, she was our primary consultant, who Byron is now filling that role. Part of some of the, I guess, delays was Kim getting to know Lake County. And, while she had a lot of experience in cannabis in Northern California, she was still learning that Lake County is unique and it approaches things uniquely. And so that was part of the delay. Another part of the delay was just so many projects. We were really excited to get rolling, get these projects out. Let's get them to Planning Commission for, either approval or denial. However, just it seems like so many projects, each one's unique, each one has its own unique conditions, and more information is needed for each one. So coordinating that effort of review and finding that information, especially tracking it down from previous planners and just the high turnover of staff that we've had. The 40 that have been reviewed, the 37 project review status memos that were submitted, we have those at CDD. We've reviewed around 20 of them and sent them out on letterheads. But again, we're reluctant to send them directly to, because a lot of times it's asking applicants for items that they've previously submitted that either got lost in previous planners' inboxes or with the file share that we have after 2 weeks. If it's not received and placed in the appropriate file, then that link expires. So these are some of the issues. A lot of those are still kind of cleaning up the cannabis program or the situations that we inherited, essentially. But I think it is my understanding, maybe Byron can speak to this further, that LACO for other counties, lots of times in the first year, they only get, 8, 9, 10 projects approved, but they work out their systems, and the following year they get, many more than that, I guess, up to 80 or 90 in some cases. So Byron may be able to speak to that experience with.
Sure, every county's different. Everyone has different rules and different scenarios. But for example, another county that we do have cannabis services for, the first 6 months, I think it was 6 or 8 projects. The following year was around 90. So that's an example of the exponential growth that will happen. I anticipate that to happen here as well.
And I support using a contractor to help us out with the overwhelming amount of applications that we have. I just want to make sure that we're getting our money's worth, and I have high expectations that momentum will change, but that's why I'm asking if we could do another 6-month review to make sure that change is occurring.
Our department would be happy to bring back a review at any time that the board deems appropriate.
Thank you for that. Any other comments?
I just want to make a comment in support of that coming back. Maybe pre-planting season and then post-planting season. I think that would be a good way to look at it coming out. So by the end of this year, definitely understanding where we are. And streamlining the process and getting it set down is one of the main goals that we have. So appreciate, as the Supervisor said, some of the changes being made, but want to hear that report at the end of this grow season. Be very important how we move forward.
All right. I'm agreeable to that as well. So thank you for offering that and being available in case the board decides it. I'll open it up to public input if there's any. I don't see any in the chamber, so I'll look online for Zoom. And I'll wait an extra second because last time I closed it and
There they go.
So we have Jennifer Smith. If you can unmute, state your name for the record, and we'll start your 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, this is Jennifer.
Can you state that again? I think it broke up a little bit.
Good afternoon, this is Jennifer Smith.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Hi. I just wanted to chime in on this. Obviously, a year and 6 projects is concerning from the cannabis industry standpoint, and I appreciate that same concern is being expressed. As we move forward, I'm hoping that we can see more transparency on the process and more projects.
Okay. I think she dropped off.
Yeah, she did.
All right. So if there's anyone else, and I see a hand up, but we have Aaron McCarrick. If you can unmute and state your name for the record. 3 minutes, we'll start then.
Hi there. Hello, Erin McCarrick, Clear Lake. Maybe what Jen was trying to say is also Vice President of the Lake County Cannabis Alliance. Thanks for the, continued work on this. We did have there was the presentation of LACO a few months back with a, kind of a all over the place spreadsheet. I know the work from CDD has been super helpful for getting everything streamlined in the cannabis department there. And also just in general with kind of organization building there. But if there was a possibility of having the transparency, and maybe it goes through the Cannabis Ad Hoc Committee, where people are kind of updated with that list of the queue, basically, of what projects are up, that would be super helpful for transparency. And additionally, if there was any sort of, because I don't know how long the grant goes for, the 2.1, and there may be other money out there too. If there's there's a 3-month timeline, a year, 6-month timeline, a year timeline, and maybe like a couple-year timeline to say how are we going to attack all of these projects over a longer period of time. I thought I had one more comment, but it is escaping my memory right now. Yeah, and also I don't know if there's anything that can be done with the Planning Commission to hopefully avoid any of these continuances. I know some of them were due to some of the planners, summer absences, and then also maybe questions that the planners may have had ahead of time that could be addressed so that the projects don't get as continued. Again, not speaking for Jen, but I know that those were some of the things that have been talked about. Thanks.
Thank you. Next is Sarah Bodner. If you'd like to unmute, say your name for the record, and your 3 minutes will start then.
Hello again, Sarah Bodner, Policy Director for LCCA. And on behalf of Jen and the organization, what we'd like to request is that we have these conversations more frequently. And we would encourage the board to ask for a 3-month review, and then a 6-month review, and then a 9-month review, and a 12-month review. And if we check in every 3 months, we think that we can have a lot more accountability and a bit better information sharing between the department and LACO and the staff and the community. So we'd like to suggest that you come back the next time in 3 months, and that we also ask that you give some sort of direction around transparent tracking of permits. In order to know where your permit is at, you have to make several calls and send several emails. And if we could have some kind of interface, like had been discussed when almost a year ago when they put that spreadsheet up on the screen, if we could have something like that that could be accessible, it could save a lot of people a lot of time, and your staff and your consultant as well. So those are our 2 requests today, which Jen asked me to communicate. Thanks.
Thank you. Supervisor Sabatier.
I know that the department is working hard on getting, forgot the name of the software all of a sudden. Excella to function for them, and there is a module in there, whether we currently have that module or not, that is a public interface where that transparency could be created. So I think at this moment in time, I need to remain patient with the process of inserting Excella in our everyday work, so that then those things can be utilized. And if we need to get that extra module, then that's something that we can discuss later on. But I know that that is something that is moving forward, and I anticipate will help out with that. And it also sounds, with the fact that LACO now has the option of having a direct contact, which was discussed earlier, that opens up some levels of transparency. But I definitely would look forward to the task force also helping out with that. I think it should be a department-wide transparency, not just the cannabis transparency.
Yes, and to respond to that, we have been keeping internal records for the cannabis program and a number of spreadsheets that track it through those 4 stages. All the information is ready to go and to basically be updated in Excella once Excella is ready for planning. So,
All right, that'll be great. Any other comments from the board?
I just have what's
Supervisor
the
Price.
timeline for that, do you think?
I'm not sure. I think that's a Mary Darby question.
Okay,
So,
that's
yeah.
fair. Thanks.
Additionally, our cannabis program manager has created a prioritization list, which does show the ongoing permit processing of the projects. And so he's begun to use some outreach elements.
Yes, it serves 2 purposes, and we've tried to share it as much as we can and update it as frequently. Initially, we tried to update it after each planning commission hearing, but then that kind of turned into about a once a month update. Again, I know it's not exactly what's being requested. I would like to see an online portal, and we could convert this into some sort of online portal. But the prioritization serves two purposes. One, to let people know where they are in the queue, similar to like going to the DMV. You want to know where you are in line, so you know what to expect. Also, it helps us make sure that we are working in a fair manner to make sure first comes, first served gets served. Sometimes we have more vocal applicants who try to, they come in and they try to work their way to the front of the line, and I try to prevent that from happening. There were that first set of projects that went to LACO first. Those projects were not necessarily prioritized, so they did get a bit of a head start. But moving forward, so long as you're in the CEQA stage, we want to make sure that we're working on the oldest projects first, up to a point where we can no longer work on them, we need more information, then we move on to the next. So everyone is treated fairly in the process. So.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for that. All right, any other questions or comments?
And I'll just say, since it was mentioned 3 months, 6 months, at this moment in time, I think that the 6 months is a good time frame for possibly a lull to be able to organize and get all this data together. The more we ask for these types of reports, the more we're actually taking away from the job we're requesting them to do. So I'm still in favor of continuing with the 6 months rather than anything less.
All right. And I think from there, I think we have, that's the only recommendation we have is a 6-month report. So I think that's all we have for that.
So we'll be back in January with our LACO, which actually is also in between our growing seasons, so that's great.
All right.
So great, thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Director Turner and Mr. Turner and Mr. Amelong for the report.
Thank you.
Turner Day.
All right.